And I was like, you know what? I didn't build this only to come so far. I want to pursue this further. I don't know how because we are back at zero right now, but I don't want to stop just yet. So I was like, I'm going to give myself 1 year and we'll see. So it was February, COVID. And I was like, we'll give myself exactly 1 year until 2021. If I make it, I make it. If I don't, then I will go back to a job.
Hi, business owners. Today we are live in the studio and I have Chaitra with us.
Yay, hi.
Hi. Okay, Chaitra, introduce yourself and tell us who you are and all the things.
Yeah, I am Chaitra Radhakrishna. I am the owner of Pink Pot Studio. I'm actually in the midst of a rebrand. Like I was telling Gina just before we started, I'm in the midst of rebranding into my own personal brand. So I'll be rebranding under my own name, which feels like such a, I don't know, it feels like a metamorphosis for me because, okay, just about me, I grew up in India. So I'm from India. I moved to the USA just 12 years ago.
Okay.
So I moved here in 2013.
That's when I came back to the States from Italy. We came back the same time.
Same time, exactly. I'm actually a software engineer. So I was a good girl who studied.
Engineer, doctor, lawyer, check.
I'm from the city called Bangalore in India. And
I almost went to Bangalore.
Oh, you did?
And I was supposed to leave February 28th, 2020. And then...
Of course.
And then the lockdown.
Yes.
I had my ticket. I had everything. I was but I was going to go with Intuit for a big meeting over there because we have an office.
Yes, exactly.
I still work there.
That's exactly
they
what I was
have an office in
saying.
Bangalore. I'm so sad. I didn't get to go.
It's beautiful. You'll go sometime.
Yeah.
What I was trying to get to was exactly what you said. You were going with Intuit. It's a tech hub.
Yeah,
Basically,
huge.
Bangalore is like the
Silicon Valley.
of India. So I grew up there, and there's this joke where it's like if you throw a stone in Bangalore, it'll either hit a dog or you'll hit a software engineer.
That's how many. Really funny.
Yeah, that's how many software engineers come from India. And so it was typical when I was growing up to study computer science. And so I did that. And I joined corporate, hated it within half a day. And I knew that wasn't what I wanted to do. So I worked that job in Bangalore for about a year. Meanwhile, I applied for like research scholarships in America. So I got into the Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh. So I came there.
Good school.
It's a good
Smarty
school.
pants over here.
So I came there and then I had all this time in the evening because I lived and grew up in a joint family. So I had all this, it was always busy, but then you come to the US and I had nobody. So I had, during the day I would do that research job, but in the evenings I had all this time to myself. So I started, I'm very into beauty and fashion. So in the evening, and Sephora was new. I walked into Sephora back then when I came to the US and I was like, what is this like heaven place? I discovered Sephora and I went back and I think I Googled something online about some beauty product and I landed into this haven of beauty blogs. And I was like, what, 24 then? Yeah. And I was like, I'm going to start my own blog too. So I started my blog. It was called Pink Pot. I think the name comes from there. It was like Pink Pot and related to beauty products and things like that. So I started that. It started as a beauty blog, but soon I realized like I was able to bring in my computer science knowledge to designing the blog. So a lot of the people who were coming to my blog readership grew, but they were all like, can you give me more like coding tips? How did you make your website look like this? How did you, like asking coding things, design things and stuff like that. So I started helping them out. And then I was like, I'm going to write a few blog posts about this because I'm getting a lot of questions. And then turns out that actually blew up more than my beauty stuff.
That's so funny. I feel like every entrepreneur has like some version of that story of like, I thought it was going to be this. And then everyone asked me about that.
Totally.
That's so funny. Did you ever do YouTube, like beauty YouTube stuff?
I did maybe like 3-4 videos. Nobody
Are they
saw
still
them.
up?
They are, but nobody ever.
We're going to find them to the work internet.
Yeah, nobody saw them, I think. Yeah, maybe I got a couple comments here and there, but I never pursued that further. Yeah.
Okay, so that's how Pink Pot Studios was born.
Yes, exactly. So around 2015, I started an Etsy shop selling blogger templates. And that sold pretty well. Like in the first 4 months, I'd hit 100 sales on Etsy. And I'm like, this is cool. Like, this is awesome. Making money on the internet. Oh, man.
It feels like magical. Like,
exactly.
Some stranger on the internet paid me money.
Exactly. And that first sale for me was for $30.
Yeah.
And so it feels like, and it's exactly 10 years now, which is beautiful. It's like 2025 and it's been a long journey. So yeah, yeah,
That's
where it started.
Fantastic. Okay, well, I love to ask this question of everyone. What is your first memory of money?
Okay, first memory of money. Okay, this is so amazing. So this comes from my father. I think every girl, like, I don't know, money memories are very associated with fathers. Yours is, I know. Yeah, so my father sitting me in a car, like we are driving somewhere, and he's like, you should always be very careful with your money. Money, you should, his words, these are his words, you should always spin your money. Spin. So this is, I don't know what he meant. I know what he meant, but I don't know why he used that word. Spin meaning in his sense, like you should always make your money work for you. You spin your money into more, like keep making more. So his definition of that, or the way he did it is, and he still does it, is there are FDs, like fixed deposits in India, where you get like around 8 to 10% interest.
That's really good.
That's really good. And so he always like is putting his money in FDs and getting his return. And that's how my dad was actually retired at a very early age, like 50, because something happened with the job he was working at. And he just walked out and he was like, I'm done. And I was still in my 12th grade then. Yeah. Yeah. And he had worked that career for like a really long time. And something happened with like, I think his board members and things like that. And he felt a little like not taken seriously or whatever in that job after being there for so long. So he just felt like I'm not going to be at a place where I'm not respected. Yeah. So he just walked out. And I was in my 12th grade, and my younger sister, she was like probably she's 4 years younger to me. So she was in her 8th grade then. And he came back and he never went back to a job, but he never once worried about money either. So that is like my earliest memory. And him sitting me in the car, always telling me like, you should always spin your money. Like it needs to keep working for you.
Did you ask follow-up questions? Did you know what that meant? Or were you like, okay, Dad?
I was like kind of, okay, Dad. I didn't ask follow-up questions, but I kind of knew like so my dad is the eldest of 11 siblings. Wow. And they grew up in a village. They were not very well off. So a lot of responsibility came on my dad to take up the entire family's responsibility at such a young age. He was the first of the 11. So he had 5 sisters and 5 brothers to take care of. And this is back like 60 years ago. My dad is 70 now. So it's like a long time ago. And they were not very well with money. So I think he carried his own money things because he was put into a very responsible role at a very early age. Yeah. So he had to sponsor his own education as well as all the siblings' education and everything. Right. So yeah, I think he had his own money stories, but he never fed that to us. Like I still see him, he wears the same set of, like the clothing that he wears is just so simple even today. He doesn't lavishly spend on anything in his life, but he never ever like
put that on you guys.
Yeah, exactly. He never put that on us. He sent us to really good schools, and yeah. I never thought I'll get emotional saying this, but okay. Yeah. So that's where I think my earliest memories come from. And it's beautiful. Like when I was listening to you talk about your dad, I had never associated, like I knew what my dad had done. But then I also, like when you were saying like your dad retired a little bit early too. Yeah. And I was like, oh yeah, my dad has a similar story. Yeah. But that never affected our growth and as children, you don't pay much attention during those years. It's only after you grow up that you see. So it's like, wow, my dad did amazing things and I didn't even know till this point.
And not only, like that he retired so early and still was able to take care of all of you guys, but he took care of all his siblings.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a huge feat.
Yeah.
I mean, reflecting back, how do you think he did that? How did he, not only did he support one generation, he supported 2 generations at once.
Yeah. I think it's the planning. I think he's very careful with his money, not in the sense like he won't spend it all, but he'll spend it on the right things. And so I think you talk a lot about that budgeting and maybe spinning his definition of
I like
spinning.
The spinning your money.
Yeah, basically what you talk about investing. I think just these two, doing a good dance between the two in a way that also you thrive in your life by doing these two, not in a way like one cuts the other. But just like how can you dance between the two of these and make your life like really full and, help money support you and your lifestyle. I think, I saw him do that. And also, like I said, he's a very simple man. He never spent much on himself. So that really helped as well, I think.
That does help. That does help. It's interesting. I don't know if you heard the podcast episode I did with my mom, but my mother's father, he wasn't the eldest, but he was one of 12 siblings. And when his father was murdered, it's like a telenovela. It was a murder of passion outside of the bullfights. Go back and listen to that episode. It's very intense.
Okay.
But my grandfather had to take over the tailor shop and take care of all the siblings financially too. So it's a more common story than we think. And even if it's not 11, siblings, it's still like, if a parent is gone, or if, you're just like the eldest daughter, the eldest son, like you got to take care of everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
And there is this, especially in America, that still happens, first of all, but there's this like silent burden, right? Where it can be hard to hear a lot of people talking about building wealth or whatever, and you're listening and you're like, okay, but I have to do that and take care of all my siblings and take care of my mom. So I think it's important that we just talk about those stories a lot because it happens all the time.
Yeah.
I'm curious now, you're a mom.
Yes.
You have a son.
Yes.
How old is he now?
6 years.
6.
Yeah.
So 2 years older than my daughter.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, how, when you had your son, did that help you reflect at all on your dad's experience? Or how did that influence just your views on money or your views on what your dad accomplished?
I think I always knew I wanted to be financially independent. Like, I think that has always been there, like from my dad and just even my mom. My mom was a working mom. She just like recently retired a few years ago. So I've always seen like examples in my life about being financially independent. So I think when I became a mom, so I'll give you a little bit of context. So I had started my business in 2015. So that was, and I also had stepped into it full time sometime around in 2016, 17.
Okay.
So that was my full time thing. The Carnegie Mellon thing got over and I'd fully stepped into this. Obviously, the first few years of business, I didn't know what I was doing. And back then, I also somehow very confidently decided that I'm going to do all this on my own without investing in anything, without getting any help, without getting any coaching. So I was trying to do it all alone. And you make a lot of mistakes. I tried a lot of business models. It was going good. Like my studio was going good, but I was trying to like scale. And that was a little bit of a uphill journey at that point. And then in 2018 is when I got pregnant with my son.
Okay, so 2 years after.
Yes.
Going full time.
Yeah. Around that time, I think I was making about $50,000 in my business, like per year. That's where I'd landed. But then when I got pregnant with my son, I took a long maternity break. For almost 2 years, I was gone. Like 2019 and 2018 and 2019, I was kind of like, I just went away. The pregnancy was a little bit hard in terms of just like nausea and things like that. Energy was low. And then that also affects the momentum in your business. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to step back and I'm going to come back after he was born. But after he was born, I was like, okay, now we have a baby we need to take care of. And so that took almost like 10 to 12 months after he was born for me to fully step back into business. And at that point, my business had completely dried up. Like zero revenue, zero leads, zero clients, everything
That's
zero,
not that
right?
surprising after 2 years.
Exactly. Yeah, what do you expect, right? And so I had this option in front of me. Like my husband is a software engineer too. Like, you know how tech jobs are. Like they're paid really well. They have a very cushy job. Like, I mean, it's secure. Like they make really good money and things like that. And I had this business on one side and I have my credentials, which will get me a job. And I was like, okay, do you want to go back to a job or what? Like, and I was like, you know what? I didn't build this only to come so far. I started something. I want to pursue this further. I don't know how because we are back at zero right now, but I don't want to stop just yet. I feel like something's there to explore here. So I was like, I'm going to give myself 1 year and we'll see. So it was February, COVID. 2020, February is when I started. And I was like, we'll give myself exactly 1 year until 2021. If I make it, I make it. If I don't, then I will go back to a job.
What did you define make it? Did you have any number in mind?
Yes,
okay.
It was 100K.
Okay. You're like, if I make 100K, I'll stay.
Yes. I said, if I'll make 100K, I'll stay. And I think at that point, after 3 years in business, I totally hit 100K. Like a total of 100K I'd probably made by then.
So, but wait, by 3 years, like 2023 or?
No. Until
Oh,
then.
okay,
Yeah.
I see,
So
I see, I see.
2015, 2016,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
2017. Like 2015, 16 was very low. 2017
You
is
had
when I
just started.
actually incorporated as an LLC.
Yeah.
And I made like 50 something thousand that year. So combined everything, maybe I'd gotten close to 100K.
Okay.
But my goal had always been like, I want to hit 100K like in a
Yeah.
year. That's like your first big goal, right?
big goal.
It's a big goal, 6 figures.
I think, hot take, I
Yeah.
don't know what you think. I think it's the hardest one. Out of
Yeah.
all the goals I've hit
Yeah.
in my business,
Uh-huh.
I'm like, I think 100K is the hardest.
Yeah.
And it's
Because-
the easiest to give up on.
Yes,
Oh,
exactly.
it's so easy to be like, oh, I don't know about this.
Because it takes a lot of becoming
Yes.
to hit 100K. I think a lot of that is like a lot of mindset stuff needs to change there. And I think you become a different person.
Yeah.
After that, you kind of know the game a little bit better.
Yes.
You're like, okay, I know how to go from
I
this
know
to
what to
this to
do,
this.
yeah.
Yeah. You just need to level up at the same things, but it's not a complete like, oh, I need to become this entire different person. Maybe I've not hit the bigger revenue points yet and I don't know that yet, but it's still, I feel.
There's still some of that.
Yeah.
No, but I think too,
Yeah.
you were, a software engineer, high paid, or
Yes.
even at that point when you were out of,
Yeah.
out of the field for a while,
Yeah.
I could go back and get an easy
Exactly.
6-figure job.
Yeah.
I had a 6-figure job in
Yes.
tech. And I think for me, the biggest hurdle was like, I know I can make 6 figures.
Yeah.
I just don't know if I can in my business. And like, it was
exactly.
the business identity of, am I someone who can sell
Yeah.
6 figures? I could make 6 figures at a job, but can I sell?
Sell 6 figures. Oh, man.
It
Oh,
took
man.
me 2 years.
Yeah.
To like, and I invested in a lot of coaching early on that helped me.
No, I keep saying like time is money. Don't waste time.
Yeah.
Not investing. Like nobody can give you that time
Right.
back. Nobody can give you that direction. And that is worth, I don't even know how much money,
Yeah. Yeah.
Seriously. That's like my biggest lesson. Like, don't wait to invest. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how did motherhood change your view on entrepreneurship and money?
Okay. Until then, I was operating, I think, from all these like mindset things, like before hitting 6 figures, like I'm like, oh, perfectionism, like everything has to be perfect. And also a little bit of that comparison to other people. Like, what are they doing? Like, why am I not there yet? Like that kind of like self-sabotage, literally. But when you become a mother, like something changes. You go through hard things. I had a specific, like the birth part of it was a little bit hard for me. Like I went through something and it was like, whoa, where am I? Like you suddenly get thrown into it. You have this beautiful life. I was 30, I think, at that point, and I had this beautiful life. And suddenly you're thrown into this full-on like arena in the hospital.
Really, when they say like, okay, you can go home now.
Yeah.
It's like, I think every mother has this experience of like, what do you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
What do you mean I'm going to take a baby home by myself? I was married, but like still like,
Yeah.
we just have to take the baby.
Baby and yeah. Yeah. Oh
It's
man.
wild.
It is. And that's when I realized like, oh man, like I have a lot of resilience in me. I have a lot of strength. And when you go through something hard, you're like, then you look back and I was like, are you serious about what all the things you used to cry about while running your business? And then I think that's when I came back, and in February when I started, I'm like, I'm going to give this my all. And I'm not going to like spiral if something doesn't work. Instead, I'm going to work it until it works. I'm just going to work it until it works. So I think I came back with that attitude, and motherhood gave me that attitude, because you don't have an option once you have a baby. You're not running away anywhere. You don't have that option. You're going to work it until it works.
Yeah.
So I kind of brought that attitude into business as well. Instead of like, oh, this strategy is not working, I'm going to jump into this or like do something else and that kind of thing. I'm like, no, we're going to work this one and we're going to work it until it works.
That's so good. I love that.
Yeah.
I think you had a toddler in COVID too.
Yes.
So the baby was at home.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I think like, there's all these hot takes around like quit your job and go full time and go all in and 100% commitment. Blah, blah, blah. And I grew my business for 2 years on the side of my full-time job. And I think that constraint of being like, I have to work 40 hours for this other company and I have the other hours to work for my business. Then I got pregnant.
Yeah.
And I was also sick.
Okay.
And then it's like, okay, I have to like somehow work while sick.
Yeah.
And work the job and the business. And then I had the baby. And then it was COVID. I had my baby in 2021. So we were like in lockdown, but like starting to kind of come out. And I actually think that experience, that constraint, it makes the business so much better because
100%.
you don't have any time to waste on low ROI activities. It forces you to be like, okay, you have 30 minutes while the baby's asleep. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
Because the baby could wake up at any moment.
Yeah.
Now I have these nice, I don't know what happened. My baby used to only sleep for like 30 minutes and now she sleeps for 2 hours. We got those good toddler naps. They're probably going to be gone soon. But yeah, it really forces you to
It does. Yeah.
prioritize.
Yeah. For me, it was like I got a nanny for 4 hours. So my constraint was
4
4
hours.
hours.
That's
Every
all
day
you got.
just got 4 hours, do whatever you want. And so when you have only 4 hours and you want to make 100K, there's no time to waste.
Yeah.
So you just do whatever brings the ROI and you're very strict about using your time.
So you hit it.
I hit it that year. And I was like, I'm not going to do it the way I was doing it before. I'm like, I used to charge around $4,000, I think, per project. And I'm like, I can't do that with a baby now. If I want to hit 100K and I want to work 4 hours per day, that means I'm taking only one project at a time. So one project per month. I have 10 projects per year, which means I need to be charging 10K per project.
Yeah, that's
and
just
my
math.
brain was like, that's where the money mindset again comes. Like, nobody's going to pay me that.
And they did.
And they did. Yeah. Nobody's going to pay me that. All the money stories that you tell yourself and you don't even know. Like for a long time, Gina, even before investing in a 7-figure wealth, I just thought like, I don't have any money mindset blocks. I don't have any. Like, you don't know until you don't know, right? Like, you're like, oh, I love money. I don't know what people are talking about. I'm not scared of money. I told all this to myself.
Yeah.
But I think you start experiencing all this only when you hit income or revenue or make money or enjoy money in the way that's not normal for you. That's when these things start. As long as you're operating in your comfort zone, why will you have any money mindset blocks, right?
Okay, so it sounds like the pricing was one of those like ceilings. You
Yes.
were like, okay,
Yes.
I do have money mindset things.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
pricing. What other ceilings did you hit? And I'm particularly interested in your wealth journey.
Yes.
What ceilings did you hit where the money mindset stuff started kind of being like, girl, you actually got some stuff?
Yes. Yeah. After like that was the first time I think I noticed like, oh, charging 10K. That felt like a first time like, oh, there is something here. Like I'm noticing something. There is like a little bit of there's like a little bit of friction, discomfort, like to charging 10K. Got over it, like built up. But my way of getting over that was to build up my skills, approach it with more strategy. And then I kind of like learned more about value-based pricing. And then I was like, okay, that makes sense. Like value-based pricing.
Can I interrupt you for a minute? Women love to be like, I can like prove myself there, right? Like, oh, I have the certification or I have the degree or I have the whatever. And then that means I can charge.
Exactly.
We love to do that.
Yeah, we love to do that. So I was able to get that. But so I really didn't go through any like money, like how do I say, like money reframes or anything like that. I was just like, okay, cool. I need to charge 10K. How can I up my value to that point? Or not my value. I don't like talking about like how can I increase the value that I bring to the table. And so just match it. So I was able to add website strategy and like solve business problems. Okay, perfect. Now it matches. So all cool.
No problem.
Yeah. So that was all cool. And so that was the first year I hit 100K. It was progressing slowly every year. Then in 2022 was when I think I actually faced like all this come up when we decided to, I won't say impulse, but it suddenly happened that we found a house. We weren't planning to buy at all. We weren't looking, but somehow this house entered our lives. I was just looking something up on Zillow and I found this house and it spoke to me and I was like, let's just go look. And the price tag on that home, it was a $3 million house. And for me, it was like, whoa, no way. That felt like a big thing. But we went to see the house and we fell in love. It was very unexpected. From the day I saw the house on Redfin or Zillow to closing, it was like a 17-day time frame. Not closing. I mean, like putting an offer and getting accepted.
I'm like, whoa, that's a really fast. Okay, but still,
like we weren't
in
looking
2
at all.
weeks, you're like life changes.
Full life changes. And until like I've gone on a date like on October 1st with my husband. We didn't even talk about buying a house. That's not even on the table. That's not anywhere in our minds. And October 2nd or 3rd, I see this house on Zillow in the afternoon. My husband comes in the evening. I'm like, Ankur, I saw this house. It's so beautiful. I'm like, oh. He's like, okay, cool. Yeah, show me. And then he sees it. He's like, yeah, okay, cool. Oh my God, $3 million. I don't know who purchases these kind of homes. And then 15 days later, we've put an offer. It's gotten accepted. Now it's under
contract.
Under contract. So in those 15 days, I went through major. Because in the bank, on paper, we have the money.
Yeah.
It's not that we don't have the money or I'm not able to afford it. That's not the thing. the thing is that's when I realized, like, where is the fear coming then from? So on paper, we're fine. Yeah. I'm able to say that because I know my numbers. I'm looking at it. I'm running the numbers. Everything feels fine. I can manage. We can manage. But then something is feeling very fearful underneath. That's when I realized the money things. The biggest thing was like, this is not for people like us. You know, I grew up in a very middle-class family. Like I said, my father, mother worked very hard to raise us. And now suddenly I get to go purchase this big home and live there. Why? That's not for people like me. You know, that was when it hit me the first time. I'm like, whoa, limiting belief.
Yeah.
And I would not have noticed it if not for being in business. It's only because of being in business, you go through so much like transformation mindset-wise. You pay attention to your thoughts. Otherwise, you don't really pay attention. Why would you pay? Right?
Also because business, like, we're in charge of every aspect of the money.
Yeah.
As an employee, you just are in charge of managing your paycheck.
Yeah.
But we're in charge of every aspect of the money, the taxes, the everything.
Yeah.
So we're confronted with it every day, all day.
Exactly.
So I think you're forced to pay attention. And even if you're avoidant of it, you're like, oh, I don't want to look.
Yeah.
It's still there.
Yeah.
So I do think entrepreneurs tend to be way more aware of their money and their thoughts about money than the average person. Because we have to.
Yeah. And if not for that, I would have never even thought of buying that house. But buying that house absolutely changed my life in all the ways
because
possible.
You saw it and you thought, oh, that's not for people like us. But then something about you overcame that thought to still go look.
Yes. Still
and
go
then
look.
What, for lack of a better term, what convinced you to put in an offer?
Yeah. So my parents were visiting that time. So they actually came to look at the house with me.
Okay.
And then they were like, oh my God, this house is beautiful. My dad, being the dad he is, he's like, I'm not going to say anything. It's your decision.
You guys.
You do you.
Smart man.
Yeah. He's like, you do you. I'm not getting into this. So he was very careful.
Yeah.
But my mom is like, you know what? These things don't come around again and again. You got to take risks. She said, like, I know it's a big deal, but it's also like nothing happens in life without risk.
Yeah.
Right? So I think she said that, and that hit me in a way. And also when I went back to my coach, like my business coach, her name is Michelle Vroom. She's amazing. She actually helped me during that time to be like, okay, you know what? Like, where's the fear? She was able to dig through the fears that I was experiencing.
Right.
And she was able to kind of help me navigate that. And I was like, cool, we can do this.
Yeah.
But it also was a big turning point for me in my business, because until then, my money, whatever I was making through my business, was all additional.
Play.
The extra.
Yeah.
The play.
Yeah.
But then the minute we buy this house, what would happen is my husband's, the primary income that he would get would go into the mortgage. And the rest, you know how these tech companies work. They get everything in stocks, and we don't. So the monthly expenses of our living expenses was now going to be on me.
Yeah.
And if I didn't make that, it would be a little bit of a problem.
Confronting.
So now it's like in my brain, it's like I have, it's like now, it's like my business is real now. Suddenly it has to bring the money, you know? Yeah, it's like I have this, like a little bit of a soft fire underneath me. A soft fire, not from the place of like I need to make the business work, but more so like on a monthly basis, I need to support my family. So yeah.
Even though, I mean, I've seen your asset sheet. That's not even actually true.
Yes.
But I do think there is something different about, I talk about like cash flow rich versus assets rich.
Yeah.
Cash flow rich is when you have a lot of cash coming in every month. And for entrepreneurs, it's like, I'm hitting these big high cash months and it's fun and exciting, but you got to keep it up. And assets rich is like, I don't have maybe a lot of cash flow, but I have a lot in the
stock market,
in the equity, in the savings, in the whatever.
Yeah.
And when people are one versus the other, like at that time, you go from being both assets rich and cash flow rich to being just assets rich and cash flow poor, because all of a sudden your cash flow is getting eaten up more.
Exactly.
So that is like, ooh, on a monthly basis, gotta make this up. Otherwise, we have to start dipping into the assets to live.
Exactly. You got it.
And we don't want to dip into the assets to live, because that's for something else.
Something else. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So that's where I think I was like, okay, no problem. Like, I don't want it. And it was like kind of a little bit of a competition, not competition, what is like a challenge with my husband. Is like, I'm like, listen, I'm going to make sure we don't sell any of your stocks.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my business is going to support us, like
so
whatever.
That's
so
good.
2023, January is when we, like December is when we moved. So January onwards, like it was on me to support the family. You know what? It wasn't hard at all. it was smooth because until then my business I think had built up to that point where I was able to do that smoothly, and I had all the reserves as well. So what I did was, and I don't know if this is the best method, Gina, but for me it was like, you know what, I'm going to, just for the peace of my own mind, because I have, like, I'm navigating a big money thing right now. So I'm just going to like put 6 months of our expenses into the bank account, which now I won't do because I've learned from you.
Well, I think it was a good strategy at the time. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Especially when you're doing a big shift in your, like a big shift in
Personal
your
finance.
you don't know how it's really going to feel yet.
Yeah, and I
So,
didn't want to put so much business pressure as well, so much pressure on the business as well. So I'm just like, I'm going to put 6 months of expenses in the bank, and then I can enjoy a little bit. Meaning I don't have to worry about monthly thing. I didn't want the monthly pressure hanging on my, mind. Every month, have I made this money?
Right.
Because I feel like that restricts you in your business too. Like, then you can't take risks in your business.
It does.
So we did that, and it was smooth, and it's been smooth, thankfully, touch wood. So it's been good. Yeah.
Okay. So I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about seven-figure wealth.
Yes.
First burning question that probably listeners have: why did you join seven-figure wealth when you already had assets?
Totally. My husband has been very good at like investing and spending the money.
I love it. Spending the money.
So he was very good. He's always been good, like since ever and I think in tech they also learn they're given stocks, they're given the 401ks and things like that. So he had a lot of education back then itself. He used to tell me, and I had opened up a Robinhood account. I'd invested maybe like $1,000 or something.
Yeah.
And because he used to say I would do something, but I was least interested because I again came from a very like, I need to see my money all in the bank kind of an attitude. I was like, my money.
Because your dad did the FDs.
Exactly. And FDs felt safe. They're not the stock market.
Yeah.
So it's safe.
Right.
It's like FD is safe. But we don't have FD. We didn't have that kind of interest options in America.
We have CDs, certificates of deposit, but they don't do 8 to 10%.
Yeah, they don't.
No.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to do anything. So I used to just keep it in my bank account. I think when I had my first call with you too, I was like, yeah, this is how much money is in my savings.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
I remember being like, that, we need to change that.
Yeah.
Because your cash is underutilized. It's sitting there doing nothing when it could be sitting there doing a lot.
Yeah. And by this point, when I came to work with you, it had been 2 years almost since we bought the house. Things were like,
so you felt,
it was safe.
You knew how to
and
manage.
also I'd spoken to my husband and I was like, I'm going back to the play and you can manage again everything, kind of thing, because I basically wanted to also focus on paying off our mortgage.
I remember.
Yeah. So I was like, anything I make from my business from now on is not going to go into the monthly expenses, which my husband can now handle. Instead, it's going to go back into the mortgage, like the principal. And so that's where I had... Gina has thoughts. You need to see her face right now.
Well, a lot of people do this where they're like, and then you had a larger mortgage, right?
Yes.
You had thoughts about the size of the mortgage. And a lot of people go, well, the mortgage is our biggest expense. How can I get rid of that expense by paying it off early?
Yes.
And that's understandable.
Yeah.
But it's also a limiting belief disguised as a positive belief.
Yeah.
And the reason it's a limiting belief is because your mortgage interest rate is always going to be low. Not always, but like yours was lower than what you can get in the stock market. So I'm like, I know you want to retire early. I know you want to have the house, be able to be paid for without worrying about your business. But putting all this extra money towards the mortgage it goes back to capital utilization.
Yeah.
That's just a fancy way of saying, are you using the money you have in the best possible way to get you the best spin,
Exactly.
the best return?
Yes.
And I was like, Chaitra, this is not the best return.
Yeah.
It's just what your mind thinks you need.
Exactly.
So it goes back to the mindset, like you're hitting new levels.
Yeah.
And so then new mindset beliefs pop up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So actually with Seven Figure Wealth, this is a very funny story. You don't know about this. So I actually joined Kirsten's $1 Million Email, that program.
Yeah.
And obviously your videos are in it. And that's how I found you.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. There's like something about reviewing your emails or something. And so I found you through that and I subscribed to your email list. Not interested in money coaching at all, obviously.
Yeah, because you're like, I have assets, I'm fine.
And I have everything in my bank, so I don't need to invest, right?
Right.
So I joined your email list just to see how you send emails because I was in an email program. And I used to get your emails and I'm like, okay, cool. I would read them basically just to analyze how you're using $1 Million email in your strategy. That's so funny. And I was like, and I remember Seven Figure Wealth came around and I didn't want to I was like, I don't need this. We have assets, we have investments, we don't need this. And then there was this one email. I'd completely decided I'm not going to join. It was just completely like, yeah. Then there was this one email you sent where you said, I think you'll phrase it better, but basically you left your 9 to 5 in order to start your business. You also need an escape plan from your business if you ever need, like, basically, how do you say it?
I don't know how that email was. I'll go back and look for it. But I think there's something about like, you left your 9 to 5 for freedom and you just bought yourself another job.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like your business is just another job.
Yeah.
Unless you are financially independent from that too.
Exactly. So that hit me in a way, like, I'm like, yeah, someday I want to not have, if I want to walk away from my business, I should want to be able to do that without worrying at all. And that email spoke to me and I'm like, oh man. And then I went to my husband. I'm like, you know what? There's this program and I want to join. He's like, but we already invest. Like, I'll teach you everything.
Yeah.
He's like, we invest. Like, I can teach you how to invest. And I understood that, like, obviously. And he's really smart and we talk a lot. He tells me everything. So I knew he could teach me. But then there was something about being in business, being a business owner, being an entrepreneur, and investing is a totally different game from being a tech person or like having a 9 to 5 and investing. That's a secure paycheck coming in every month and then you get to invest.
Or your RSUs or your options.
Exactly. That's completely different. But this is completely different. Like you got to take out money to invest. Like that's different. And I knew, like, for me, even if my husband was able to provide me with like the strategy and like what stocks to invest in and all that, I knew there was something related to mindset that needed to happen. And that's why I joined Seven Figure Wealth. That was like my story into getting into investing. And I think like within like even a couple weeks or a month, a lot changed for me. Yeah.
Well, what changed?
I went from investing $4,000 in like Robinhood, that's how much I had invested all my life, to realizing that I actually didn't have a retirement plan.
Yeah.
I actually didn't have a retirement plan. I was making money, obviously, but I didn't have anything to, when I'm 65, what's going to happen? I never thought about it at all. And I hadn't
You're just paying off the mortgage.
Yes. I'm just paying off mortgage, enjoying, like, but yeah, I didn't have a plan for what would, like everybody has. And I was like, man, you're 30. I was 35 then, now I'm 36. But it's like, you need to plan for these things. You're not like, you're not 16. Like you got to plan for these things. So yeah, that was one big thing. So I obviously like started a SEP IRA, like set up myself for like you teach us how to do it, 7-figure retirement. I can say that now. I'm like set up for a 7-figure retirement. It's beautiful. And being an entrepreneur, to say that, that's amazing. Like that feels like you're such a badass woman. Like you created that all by yourself.
It's so adult.
It's so adult.
Like, oh, I'm an adult. I have a SEP IRA.
Yeah, exactly. And then I started investing. So I had all this money sitting in my savings account.
I remember.
So I started moving it slowly into like the stock market. Yeah. My husband is a little bit aggressive. Like he does all these things on Robinhood. And I'm like, no, I'm just going to follow what Gina says. I'm going to stick to what she says because I'm safe. Like I'm a mix of my dad as well as this entrepreneur spirit in me. So I'm somewhere in the mix. So I was like,
well, it's not even about being safe, although there's definitely a level of that. It's also like, how much time do you want to spend doing this?
Exactly.
Do you want this to be another active investment or do you want a passive investment? If you want a passive investment, there's a way to do it, meaning you put it in, you don't spend any time worrying about it or fiddling with it. Maybe your husband enjoys the active investing, right? Buying and selling stocks or doing different strategies. Yeah. Our businesses are our active investment.
Exactly.
I have enough active investments. Like
there's already too much excitement in it.
I don't want my stock market portfolio to be active too.
True.
Yeah. 100%. Okay.
100%.
Did anything in your wealth plan that changed after you joined 7-Figure Wealth, did anything surprise you?
Yes. I was still planning to pay off my mortgage aggressively. So just before joining the program, I had paid off, I think, like $133,000. I put it on the mortgage just then, like a few months before. And when I spoke to you, you were like, you didn't say like, don't do it, but you were also like, okay, there are other things you could do with that money too, because my rate of interest, like the mortgage interest was at 5% or something. And that's pretty low compared to what you can get on the market. So that changed a lot for me. I didn't expect walking into the program that mindset shift would happen. But that was a big thing. I'm like, you can still put payments towards your mortgage. Not that you should not. You can.
Yeah.
But also there are like other ways you can do it. So now I'm a little bit more balanced in the way I like use my money to fund whether the mortgage or my portfolio.
Yeah.
It's more balanced now.
Well, my thought process is just like, to your point, there's no wrong, like, that's amazing that you got to put that much extra towards your mortgage.
Yeah.
And did we do all the math first to then see which is the best option for you and then decide versus just, I have an emotion.
Yeah.
And that emotion is driving me to do an action.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And at the end, you might still do all the math and still put extra towards the mortgage. Again, it's not that the action was wrong. It's just that, did you explore all the avenues first and then decide on purpose?
Yeah, true. But I won't lie, like as such, like in my first 5 years or 6 years of business, I never maintained my finances, never even wanted to look at it. I just had like this rough notepad where I would write how much money I'm getting from projects, and that was that.
Bookkeeping.
Yes, that was my bookkeeping.
Yeah.
But it feels so badass to be in charge of your money. Like I know my money now. Like I know how much I'm making. I know how much is going. I know how much I'm investing. I know where I'll be in a few years, where, I have more clarity around this and that education, like having that financial literacy. I think it just makes you feel so badass. Like I can't put it in words. Yeah.
Well, to your point, it's like, not only do I know my current situation, which by the way, a lot of people don't know their current situation. Not only do I know that very deeply, I also know with some mathematical accuracy, the next 5 years, 10 years, 25 years, 30 years.
Yeah.
And like, I know what variables would affect those timelines. Like it's like having a crystal ball.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not like, I hope that we'll be able to continue to afford this house.
Yes, it's not that. You feel more grounded. You feel more safe. In fact, knowing your numbers makes you feel more safe.
Yeah.
Like people think looking at the numbers will scare them and they'll feel unsafe. No, it's the opposite. The more you know about your money, the more safer you feel. And the more you actually get to spend too. I feel like I spend a lot more money in the last 2-3 years than I ever did before. Because before it was like, that's $5,000. No way. It's just like a blind, no way. It's just too much.
Yeah.
But without even attaching or without even understanding the value that's associated with the money, you just look at the money and you're like, this is too much most of the time. And you're like, I'm not going to spend that much. But now you know exactly how much money you have, how you can spend it, and you can choose to spend it the way you want to spend it. Like, Ramit Sethi talks about like the rich life.
Yeah.
You can decide what your rich life is, and that can be very different from somebody else's, but at least you know yours. So then spending $5,000 on something that means something to you is totally okay.
And you know what you can afford.
Yes.
So it's not a guess. And again, going into like, knowing the future and knowing exactly where your finances will be.
Yeah.
And based on the market, right, where your portfolio will be, you'll know, okay, I could spend that $5,000 on this thing, or I could invest that $5,000. And I know what would happen if I invested that $5,000. And I'm still going to choose to spend it because it's worth a lot more to me right now. And that's okay.
Yes.
And it's all okay versus either, fuck it, I'm just going to spend it, or no.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like being conscious about your money. Like just being more conscious about how you're spending it. And that gives you a sense of empowerment. Like I knew it and I still spent it. Like that's badass.
That's so good. That's so good. Okay.
Yeah.
I have one final question for you.
Yeah.
And it's really two. What did you think wealth building was before seven-figure wealth? And what do you think it is now?
Before seven-figure wealth, I thought wealth building was saving money. And now I know it's investing. Saving money, I think there's always a ceiling on it because you have to make that money all on your own. And there's only so much money you can make. Like all the richest people in the world didn't become rich by saving money. That was my biggest thing.
Yeah.
And you don't realize that until you actually learn about investing and things like that. So for me, that click happened when I joined the program. So that was my big shift. Like you don't need to save money and kill yourself to save money. And that's the only way to become rich. There's another way, and it comes from spinning/investing money. Apparently, my dad told me about it when I was 8, but it only clicked internally just now after joining the program, which is good. Like because some things are living inside you, but they don't fully become conscious until something like this comes and walks into your life and teaches you and opens it and shows you. So that's what happened to me when I joined Seven Figure Wealth. Now I look at it like, okay, it's not about saving. You're not gonna become rich or become wealthy by saving like a couple $100, which also is important. I still save, like wherever I don't need to spend, I don't. I still, I still look up like subscriptions that we don't use and I'm always canceling the ones. I'm very, very nitpicky about like saving $10 a month, right? So I am like that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm also like, in order to like really up level and go to the next level, like investing is where it is at. And so I think it's a balance. Again, going back, it's a dance between the two. And so do it in a way that makes you happy and joyful. Yeah.
I mean, I like to think about it to the point of saving. Like, if I wanted $1 million today, I would have to earn and then save $1 million to have it in my bank account, right? Which is a lot of effort.
Yeah.
But if I wanted a 1-year-old to have $1 million by the time they're 65, do you know the number? It's crazy. If you have a 1-year-old and you invest $2,400 in an account in their name and then let it grow until that 1-year-old is 65, that $2,400 will turn into $1 million. So I like to say, depending on how much time you have, you can buy $1 million for $2,400.
Exactly.
But if you want the $1 million today, you have to buy the $1 million for $1 million.
Exactly.
So when I say it's very expensive to wait to build wealth, that's literally what I mean. I mean, it's going to cost you more money to buy the $1 million portfolio when you wait versus when you do it now.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how old you are. Like, I have people who are like, I'm in my 40s. And I'm like, the principle still applies.
Yeah.
It's the same principle.
Yeah.
Also, if you're 40, you have like 25 years. That's a lot of time.
Yeah.
That's a lot of time to do this stuff.
Yes. And what you say, it's your biggest asset in the stock market is not your money. It's the
your time.
I learned that, like, it really hit me when you said it. That's so true. Like, if I started even 10 years ago, the story would be completely different. But hey, here we are.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's never too late.
It's never too late. And I always just like to think, like, you can think I'm so behind, I'm too late. Or you can think I put myself in the best position to be in.
And thank God I'm here today.
And thank God I'm here today. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. If you had one final thing to say to our listeners, why they should join or what your experience, any final words.
Yeah.
What would you say? Especially to someone who might be like you, like has assets, but is like, I'm good.
Yeah. I think there's always more to learn. And I think that's a never-ending journey. And I think for me, like, if I had believed that I knew everything and I don't need to invest, I would have lost a lot. And especially if you're an entrepreneur, join the program because there's an alternate path and you'll have that secondary or like the plan B always. So that way it allows you to take risks in your business so much more freely. I feel like being an entrepreneur itself is a big risk. But even within that, you're taking so many risks every single day. And sometimes when you have the money pressure on you, you can't take those risks from a place of faith. It comes from a place of fear. And that time it kind of paralyzes you in your business. So especially if you're an entrepreneur, you want to build this bank, you want to build this wealth on the side so that it gives you more play and joy in your business. And that's the reason you should join 7-Figure Wealth. Not because you already have assets or not because, you know, you're already good, but what can be better?
Yeah.
Right? So for that reason.
Good. So good. Okay, Chaitra, where can people find you on the internet?
Okay. Not sure when this will be.
Soon, like next week. Like
okay. Yeah, right now you can find me on pinkpotstudio.com. That's where I'm at. I'm on Instagram all the time.
But what will your future website be in case someone listens in the future?
Yes, it's Chaitra. It's going to be chaitraradhakrishna.com.
We'll write that out for you.
Yes. Yes, it's going to be chaitraradhakrishna.com. I'm rebranding, so that's where you'll find me. But I'm on Instagram at pinkpot.studio. And I'd love to chat. Please hop into my DMs. I'm always like excited to connect with fellow entrepreneurs.
So good. Thank you, Chaitra. All right. We will catch you guys in the next episode. Take it easy.